This extraordinary creature is half blind, half deaf, and this is just about as fast as it can move.
You're a fucking animal. Oh, fucking doing it.
What's up, Wingnuts? This is August 25th of 2019. We are at Muddy Waters in Port Byron, Illinois, and this just so happens to be the day that I got that little gem of an intro clip. We're on the line talking to my favorite prepubescent rival, Logan Rathburn. Now, I know if you squint your eyes real hard, he might kind of look like a chick right here, but don't be fooled. Since the kid has probably grown a foot. He chopped off those long locks, and the dude probably has more hairs on his chest than I do at this point. It's 1 year later, and I think he just got a look from the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki team. So I did want to say congrats on that, but that's now, and this was then. So let's see what happens when the gate drops about a year ago. We're lined up in between Danny Mormino on the left and somebody's small child on the right, but those are just the perks of the class that I race, which today happens to be Open Sea. The gate drops. I let that 450 eat for a little bit, but not quite long enough. So as things close in around me and we come into this first turn, it's looking like I'm running about 5th place. That is until the 986 of Jacob Schweider comes into the picture, bumping me back to 6th. Through the rollers, we've got in order of Luke Jackson, Mark Schweider, Brandon Bellino, Danny Mormino. I'm not sure if this is some kind of Italian takeover or what, but then you have Jacob Schweider, who is Mark's son, Jason Miller, who just went by, and myself. So we're running 7th place, which isn't too bad. It could definitely be worse. Now, if you listen to that rundown that I gave, it can kind of start to clue you in on what a big melting pot the Open Sea class is. In this race specifically, there are Mark and Jacob Schweider, the father-son duo who's up there battling it out. There's kids probably half my age in this race. You got 125s, 250s, people like myself who shouldn't be on 450s. It's kind of like the no rules, one size fits all, anything goes, just lump it all in class. And while that's the same thing that makes it kind of scary thought, it's also the same thing that makes it so beautiful. Alright, that's enough fucking around. Back to business. We're out here making passes. We just got by Bryce Roan, who was caught up on the inside of that turn. He got by us earlier. We got him back. That puts us in 7th place behind Jason Miller. You might just recognize Jason from the last video I did. And he is just refusing to let go of those bars. Keep hanging in there, buddy. You're doing great. However, Jason seems to be staying upright today, and as we try to track him down for 6th place, we're going to go over the finish line and clock our first lap at 1 minute 58 seconds. We jump forward a bit here just to show you the perfect example of how you can use your GoPro as a tool, not just a toy. Okay, so the 813 bike here goes by me, and at the time I didn't really have the presence of mind to realize it, but looking back at it from more of a film study perspective, I noticed that the two people that are directly in front of me have both passed me in the same downhill. It's really easy to see from behind the screen where you should be charging more and where you could be making up time on other people, things like that. At this point, I definitely wasn't thinking about. I was more focused on how not to die. You know, let's get around this corner and not tip over. Stuff like that was more present on my mind than how do I make up this half of a second to get the win, you know? And another thing that I've noticed, you know, as I kind of take a step back and look at things from more of a third person perspective, that it really enhances what I would call like my track IQ. So when I should be taking the inside, the outside, where I'm getting past, where I should be pushing harder, like I said before, all that stuff, you can really see and understand and learn from all that stuff so much better when you're off the track and you don't have all that adrenaline going, all these other different factors to think about. It's just a more controlled environment where you can study your craft. This video is littered with all kinds of mistakes and things that I could clean up, but here comes the perfect example. So I switch my lineup for whatever reason, go outside, and that allows Bryce to come back on the inside, make the pass on me over the finish line, which leads to... Now you know it wouldn't be one of my videos without some squid shit going on. Failed to check up there, ended up getting passed by a few dudes, bumped us back to 12th place. Once we get the bike picked up and we're on our way to salvaging what we can out of this race, we come over this jump and Trevor gives us this little gem. Now, if you're not familiar with who Trevor is, we'll touch base on that later, but this is a pretty good introduction. On the last lap here, heading into a corner where it seemed like the inside was a C-Class kryptonite, we get a pass back, moving us into 11th. Coming around the third to last corner, it looks like we've got Jason Miller and my young rival Logan Rathburn tied up. Thanks fellas, I'll take both those spots. We get around Old Blue here, who I'm going to assume was a lapper, not who was running 8th place, cross the finish line and wrap up Moto 1 with a 2-minute lap. So it was a 9th place finish for Moto 1. We are back on the gate to see what we can do for Moto 2. As the revs come up, the gate drops, and I lay an egg. I think I missed my shift to 3rd, so we got ourselves a pretty big group of people up in front of us now as I sit in what seems to be 11th place. Since I spent some time in 11th place last moto, you will recognize a lot of the same people out in front of me, with the exception of the 308 Elijah White Lightning, I'm not sure. Nevertheless, we crest these rollers and I get myself a big old serving of karma. The last video I made, I talked all the shit on this kid, calling him a C-Class pro. I showed all the goofy stuff he was doing. One of those things being him throwing this accidental knack. So the world must have thought, as I sit here editing this today, that it would only be fair for me the very next weekend to do the same damn thing.
Woo! Knack, baby!
So after we channel our own inner C-Class pro, we're going to go ahead and jump forward a little bit to where we can start talking about the theme for this video. Have yourself a listen to this. We're behind the 308 of Elijah White Lightning, and it sounds to me like he went to the Trevor Collier School of Moto and Social Media, where they preach look fast, sound fast, but don't ever actually go fast. Elijah here and Trevor are actually bike buddies. Now, what's a bike buddy, you might ask? I'm not entirely sure. This is one of several people that loaned Trevor their own personal bikes for him to race. And for their generosity, Trevor pays them back by, well, one can only speculate. But since we've been talking about him so much, and legend already has it that if you click your heels together and say his name 3 times, he will magically appear asking you to borrow your dirt bike. Let's properly introduce you to Trevor Collier, the one and probably only Moto Mooch, more affectionately known as ST or Stained Tooth. He's probably the only dude you'll ever know to race multiple seasons without himself owning a dirt bike. Now, I know what you're gonna think, that I'm just out here making fun of somebody who doesn't have the means to go and buy themselves a dirt bike. But when a mooch gets money, they don't need to go out and buy a dirt bike. They instead do things like buy a $2,500 set of wheels for an $800 van. He's the type of dude who's got a good heart and you want to give him an intervention, but it's like, an intervention for what? Bad decisions? At the top of Trevor's resume, it says frozen pizza chef, and his big claim to fame is the way he goes about it. Anyways, Trevor, homie, we love you. Stop being such a dipshit. If anybody's interested, get a hold of him for one of his moto schools where he can teach you to do this. Alright, so we're back to racing, and with all that being said, guess what? We're still behind Elijah. So we go ahead and get that handled by taking the inside on this corner. We hold him off through the uphill rollers, and we have moved ourselves up into 10th place. Now we're gonna go ahead and skip forward here just a hair, and off to your right you're gonna see somebody that's down, which is pretty standard C-Class carnage, but we're not gonna make fun of this kid because I'm pretty damn sure I'm wearing his gloves this race. So anyways, I jump us forward about half a lap, which puts us into our 3rd out of 4, where I'm chasing down Logan Rathburn for 9th place.
Coming for you, Rathburn!
He and I keep about the same gap for most of lap 3, so I jump forward to the beginning of lap 4, where, as usual, I'm sketchily cross-jumping the finish line. Now, there were definitely some spots on lap 3 when I was following behind that I thought I could make up some time on and maybe make the pass, or at least close the gap. So that's what we're setting out to do in lap 4. We come down this valley and we both go past our guy Blue. Then, as we come down this back straight and curve, it becomes very apparent how slow we actually were going back then. That's about all I can see, and when he watches this, I'm pretty sure he's gonna think the same. Regardless though, the gap is closing and things are about to get a lot more intense. He's lined up for the inside, I've been taking the outside, trying to carry a little bit more speed over this jump. And when we get to the other side, I'm right on his back fender, and I've got some words for him to let him know I'm there.
Come on, boy! Woo!
Then, as we come over the next jump, guess who's standing there looking mad as hell? Probably because his homeboy Elijah is racing his own bike, so he don't have anything to ride this moto. As we get back to racing, we're going to touch base again real quick on the whole GoPro for film study deal. Over this next sequence of turns, it looks pretty clear to me that I should have went inside to inside to inside, but since I decided not to and I just kind of followed him through one of the turns, it resulted in a pretty wild finish. Check it out. So as we came racing over the finish line, it left my head that you kind of got to stop to pull off the track here, bud. I'll take some credit here for almost bulldozing little dude. I definitely owe him a new pair of whitey tighties. But we also have Brian on the flag, letting people cross the track. Come on, bruh. This is C-Class. You know we do these things. If you happen to stick with me this whole time, I want you guys to know that I really do appreciate that. There will be some bonus content at the very end of this video. I'm not going to give you guys the old tired like, comment, subscribe spiel. If that's something you want to do, you're going to do it. I'm working on ways that I can get my uploads more consistent, but until next time, let your nuts hang.
Fucking stole it? Are you kidding me? Come on, fuck! Oh, my fucking nuts! Fucking Christ. Always fucking something. Some bullshit.